Good morning. This is an introduction to videos that will start in the first week in August. This is so that you can have time to get flutes made. Hopefully you'll get 3 made, and I'll go into why. I'm going to, if there's enough interest, put out a video on every 2 flute song that I play. Amazing Grace, Hey Jude, Yesterday, Morning is Broken. If it's on there, I'm going to put a video out if there's interest in it. If I put a video out and 2 people view it and that's it, then probably not going to go any further. However, now, if you want to play Amazing Grace, if you think you can just start on Amazing Grace and do it, you probably could with lots and lots of work. But it's going to be easier if you just work through the videos. Now, with all that said, let me say this to begin with. This is going to take a lot of work on my part to do this, but since I just want it to be out there so people can do it. Some people will do it. And I want to hear after you play 2 flutes, then you can show me all these wonderful songs that you play, and then just email me and I'll watch them, then I'll learn how to play those songs. But now, if you want to play 2 songs, let me say this to begin with. After I say that it's going to take a lot of work on my part, it's going to require a lot of work on your part. If you're interested in playing 2 flutes, but if you're not going to practice, if you're not going to spend time with it, and if you just really kind of want it, kind of don't want it, but if you have that kind of attitude, I kind of want it, it's cool, but you're never going to do it. It's just something you got to want, you got to practice, you got to spend time with it. It's not like picking up 1 flute and playing the Native American scale. This will require work. Well, that's a bad word. This will require work on your part and time. It's fun. And I can guarantee you that if you learn to do it, when you hear yourself play 2 flutes at once, you're going to be amazed that you're going to fill a room full of music. And so, last weekend at a festival, I think it was last weekend, maybe 2 weekends ago, I taught 4 people how to begin to play 2 flutes at one time. I had a set, and I guaranteed each one of them that if you want this, give me 10 minutes and I'll have you playing 2 flutes. And it's like 5 minutes into it or less, they're playing 2 flutes. Now we're going to start off with 3 holes, then later on we're going to add the 4th hole. But there's going to be a progression that hopefully where you can learn to where you just don't get overwhelmed. I can guarantee you that if I put Amazing Grace or Hey Jude out there right to begin with, and this is how you play it, a lot of people are going to give up. And I don't want you to give up. I want you to work through the videos, and whoever wants it, or whomever I should say, that you have a chance to learn it slowly. Now, with all that said, one of the most important factors, and there's several probably, is the length between here and here on your 4 holes, between that hole and that hole. If I can get my fingers out of the way. The length between that hole and that hole is roughly 3 1/8 to 4 inches. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact dimensions. I'm not going to give you the ID or the bore size because your flute maker, whomever that you use, should, and they do know how to do this. There's a lot of great flute makers out there. Back pressure is very important. If your 2 flutes don't have the same back pressure, let's say this, if you can see the difference, this is your A, this is your D, which is shorter, which is important. If the A has more back pressure, then that means there's more air going through this flute. It's going to heat up quicker just because of the hot air coming out of your body. If this has less back pressure, it's not going to warm up equally, and all of a sudden you got 1 flute that's warm, 1 flute that's not warm. Your pitch is going to change. So the back pressure is very important that they be identical or as close as humanly can get. Let's see, finger placement, back pressure. It doesn't matter what the flutes are made of, and if you have 60 to 100 flutes, or 30 flutes, or 20, or 3 flutes, you may get lucky and have a set that matches. Now, another important thing, this is, you can see the difference, this is the A, this is the D. If you're going to play Amazing Grace and that's all you want, you need a D and an A. If you want to open the doors wide open to play anything and everything, that's unbelievable what you can do. This is the G, see how long it is, and this is the A. The A has to be shorter than both the D and the G. If, and this is the E, but it's close. If I have, we'll call it a D. If this is my D and this is my G, or A, the way I'm going to teach you, it's not going to work. I'm not saying it won't work, but the way that I'm going to teach, I'm just not going to teach that. Now, this is another thing I'm not going to do. Your flute maker can answer these questions for you. Talk to him. I'm going to say a D and an A, and then a D and a G, D being your one that is common between both the D and the G. That's what we're going to start with. No other keys, D and A. Bottom line, that's it, folks. D and A. Your flute maker should know, if you tell him this would probably be a high D, this would probably be a mid-range A or a mid-range G, because the G, which I play in my left hand, the A I play in my right hand. But now that's not in stone or concrete. You can switch hands if you like, and if that's more natural, then play it that way. I play it with a D in my left hand, the A in my right hand for some reason. It's probably because of the way I picked the flutes up first time. All right, so with all that said, finger placement, very important. If you didn't get it, back it up, get it again. Back pressure, that's the amount of air it takes to get a sound. Some flutes are very airy. Well, the sound just, your breath is gone, and some of them you just barely breathe and they play. The one that you just barely breathe and they play, that's a very soft back pressure, or very little. Where it's very airy and you have to go, you get a sound out of it, then that's, nope, I messed up. If you go, that's almost no back pressure. If it's just very slight breath and it plays, then it has a lot of back pressure, and you want the flutes matched. So it's very important. And your flute maker, talk to him, aggravate him, and he should be able to fill in all the other holes for you. Finger placement, air pressure. Now, let me pitch for Dana right quick. Dana has worked for me for at least 8, maybe 10 years, maybe a little longer, on playing 2 flutes at one time. Now, this is important to a point because Dana is my favorite flute maker and a very good friend of mine. Has been for a long time. And he's not too far away. So I can go up and say, Dana, I need a flute that'll do this. And I can do that. So anyway, if you get a triple set, it will be signed by me. And man, the volume, the price, just, it doesn't cost anymore. It's just, should make it worth more money, you'd think, but probably not. Anyway, it doesn't cost me anything for me to sign it. And Dana will make the flutes. He will call me up when the sets are done. I will drive 2 hours to his house. And I don't tune them. I just play the flute. Dana does all that stuff, tuning. I just play. He will get the flutes to a finished point, almost. He'll call me up. I drive 2 hours. And if you get a signature set, I sign it. And then I will play the flutes, do the final tuning to where they blend properly. That's the only. Dana's a good flute maker. There's a lot of good flute makers out there. Now, if you get a set from a flute maker and you think you may want to play a D and an A, which that's what we're going to start with, and we're going to go to a D and a G. However, if you think you want to play a D and a G later on, then you need to tell your flute maker to begin with and get him to make it same time. Because that way he can make the bore, the mouthpieces. If he's making 3 all at once in front of him, they're going to be closer to being identical. And that's really what you need, is a matched set. So your favorite flute maker is the color he makes, the style he makes, the sound that he produces. And there's a lot of good flute makers out there. But with all that said, here again, this will start in August, first week in August. But it's going to require work, which I know is an ugly word. It's going to require time, practice, some energy. And if you want to do all that stuff, then I'm going to do the rest of it. And I'm going to teach you as easily as I can to bring you along to where you don't get irritated and frustrated, and where you can do it And I'm going to teach every song if there's enough interest. If I get 2 views off of it and nobody's interested, of course I'm not going to do any more. But if there's enough interest for a few people, then I'm going to teach every song that I do, note for note for note for note for note, exactly how I do it. So